race, but it might be a factor on somebody's safety or the health of one of our drivers, and I don't think that should even enter into the picture. I feel like as soon as something happens, send somebody out there and have a timeout or whatever we got to do, but we need to look after these drivers.
Honest criticism initially came after an incident at Bristol, and then of course last week Buddy Baker says he was knocked unconscious for a couple of minutes and woke up and there was still nobody there to his assistance. But there is Buddy now, wide awake and ready to step into the Richard Petty car when Petty makes a pit stop.
Bob, there was a meeting this morning, as there is every race morning, with NASCAR officials and the safety crews who have been hired on here this weekend at North Wilkesboro. And NASCAR did emphasize to the safety crews that they want them to respond to every incident on the racetrack. So they are attempting to make steps to correct whatever unhappiness some of the competitors have.
Bonnet just continues to act like he's on a rail out there. That car performing very well. And he has opened up just a little more than a half a straightaway lead now on Bobby Allison. In third position, right behind Bobby Allison, as a matter of fact, making it a good race for second spot, is Jeff Bodine in that car number 5, who had a very poor first qualifying day, but then came back and qualified well yesterday in the second day of qualifying that put him in the 9th starting spot. There's Bobby Allison in car number 22. Right behind him, the yellow car, is Jeff Bodine. And there is the leader. There's a good indication of the interval between first and second position.
Bob, pit stop should be coming up very shortly. The last time we pitted was, I believe, around lap 55. And there was a yellow flag in there, but not everybody did all the work they wanted to complete. We normally run about 160 laps, 165 laps here at North Wilkes, so it's possible that within the next 10 minutes here, everybody should be ready to come in and take another gulp.
Well, one guy that has been in for a couple of pit stops in the last 10 or 15 laps, Harry Gant. They have done some work on that car, changed some tires, and also done some adjusting the weight of the car. Harry Gant is down a couple of laps to the field, but is still out there in competition.
Yeah, Bob, I do stand corrected. I forgot about the yellow flag that was in the late 100s here. Everybody did come in around lap 190, so we do have significant distance to go yet. And that really plays to the advantage of Bonnet and Bobby Allison. Now, Bodine has moved up. He begins to challenge Bobby Allison. Ricky Rudd is still in it, as is Labonte, but the two leaders are running very smoothly.
Well, one thing we like to do at our Grand National races is have a question of the week. And we try to come up with some interesting little tidbits as far as what we like to ask these drivers. And we think you'll find the answer of the question of the week very interesting this week.
I had an aunt that had a niece that had a cousin who bought a dog that came from Alabama once.
That is not Jimmy Stewart. And the top 5 with 225 laps completed. Neil Bonnet, the leader. Bobby Allison second. Jeff Bodine third. Ricky Rudd fourth. Terry Labonte running in 5th position. There is the leader, Neil Bonnet, in the Budweiser Chevrolet.
As we watch Neil, go back to the fact that we started, of course, 30 cars in today's race. The people who were here who did not qualify, it was a very competitive field, although there was not an excessive number of entries. Ed Bodges almost got into this field, as did Tommy Crozier. And Maurice Randa, who hauls all the way down from Charlotte, Michigan, was here as an entry this week, was able to get out on the track and practice, but was unable to qualify into today's field. But that guy, Neil Bonnet, not only qualified into the field, but he has performed admirably during the running of this race. You know, he started, Bob, this race in 5th position, and that's another tradition here at North Wilkesboro. The guys who start particularly in the first couple of rows seem to do very, very well here. Now, Neil starting in 5th, of course, is in row number 3, so he's not exactly in the first 4 positions, but from the 5th position, 6 drivers have won the race here. But just to give you an idea how successful the front row has been, 21 times out of 48 races, almost half, the winner has come from the front row. So Neil is breaking a little bit of tradition, but holding up the idea that you have to start up front to do well here at North Wilkes.
Well, that excellent impression of Jimmy Stewart there by Bobby Allison was kind of an indication of what the question of the week was going to be. So without further ado, we have several drivers answering our question of the week. Here's Jackie Arute.
Our question of the week for Bill Elliott. If Hollywood called you and said, we're going to make the Bill Elliott story and you get to choose who's going to play the leading lady and who's going to play the leading man, literally playing Bill Elliott, who would they be? Which actress?
Well, I'd have to say Morgan Fairchild for the leading lady, and I'd have to play the leading man. There ain't no doubt about it.
Well, I'd want Magnum to play Richard Petty because he seems to be the one that's turning everything on right now. And the girl-wise, I guess it'd be up to him, whichever one needed, because Linda wouldn't let me get close to the leading lady anyway, so it wouldn't make a whole lot of difference to me.
Well, let me tell you who the leading lady would be first. Jacqueline Smith would definitely be the leading lady, and I wouldn't let anybody have that role except me. I'd have to be there.
I tell you, nobody else may think so, but I think that Stevie and I could play those roles very well, and we could just live out our life as it has been laid down behind us, and it would be a hit. I believe we both would get Academy Awards for it. I think what we've done and the things that we've accomplished and the trials and tribulations that we've had would parallel the Loretta Lynn story or maybe even Stroker Ace.
Well, I think I like, you know, I've always liked Clint Eastwood, and Paul Newman always does a good job too. So either one of those guys probably could do the job. I've always liked Rachel Ward or Jacqueline Bissett, either one.
Well, I think that probably, without a doubt, we'd have to get Jimmy Stewart to play the leading role. And if they wouldn't let Judy play her own part, maybe we'd get June Allison to do that.
Well, I think Bobby's impression of Jimmy Stewart sounded more like an impression of Rich Little doing an impression of somebody else doing an impression of Jimmy Stewart.
You know, Bob, that was an interesting piece because I got to tell you, you know, when we first talked about the idea of doing that, I wasn't real enthralled by it, but it was very predictable. When you think about Dale Earnhardt talking about Clint Eastwood, it really matches. Bobby Allison talking about Jimmy Stewart. It was a very predictable piece, and I think we see a lot of insight into the personalities of everybody involved.
Who would you like to have play your leading role in your biography, Larry?
Oh, my goodness. Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Really? I think I'd go for Dom DeLuise. Neil Bonnet is the leader,
back to the race, yes.
of the Northwestern Bank 400. 7 cars are on the lead lap now, running in 11th position. Shot from inside the 7-Eleven Ford with Kyle Petty in 11th.
Well, Bob, I would imagine that the frustrating thing for the Woods brothers and Kyle happens to be that they cannot run faster and run down the leaders because they did lose 2 laps in that spin there between 3 and 4, and they would have hoped that they were so fast in the early stages of this race that they could race back up, get their laps back, and maybe be a threat for victory. But with the laps just continuing to roll by, 220, 225, 230, and Kyle being 2 laps to go, this set of tires is not propelling him to the front. I would imagine there's a little disappointment in that camp because they look like they really had a chance for victory here all week long, and particularly in the early stages of this race.
An unbelievably safe race here. We have only had 3 caution periods for a total of 19 laps. A couple of spins and Eddie Bierschwell's incident with the tire down protecting the end of pit wall. But other than that, the race has been accident-free as we watch Terry Labonte and Dale Earnhardt running in 5th and 6th position. We've talked all race long about how difficult this racetrack is, and we ask Dale Earnhardt about approaching slower traffic.
Well, hopefully they don't move out of the way, but sometimes they don't, and you have to nudge them a little, and you know, if they just continue to stay out in the way, and you know, you're racing here, and you're trying to beat other race cars, and you run up on a guy, and he thinks, well, it'll take me, you know, I can go through this, I can go make this lap, and then move over. It's really not that kind of situation. If they were excited about where they were running as we were, you know, they'd get on out of the way and let us go. The leaders are out there racing for everything they can get, and it makes a difference at a place like this if you can get that track position and the caution comes out and you get to the pits before the other guy and get out, and you still got track position, and that's what it's all about. Every little bit helps and hurts. So, you know, you just try to get around them the best you can, and if you got a guy that keeps giving you problems all day, sometimes you give him a little nudge and let him know that, you know, you're really upset with him.
And we have seen lots of nudging here this afternoon so far in the first half of this race. There once again the leader, Neil Bonnet, with now just about a full straightaway length advantage on Bobby Allison running in second. Jeff Bodine is running in third spot, followed by Ricky Rudd and Terry Labonte. 6 through 10 with 245 laps gone. Earnhardt, Waltrip, Elliott, Speed, and Petty. We'll be right back.
Come out. Buddy, it looks like you're waiting for the bus.
Well, I go have to ride Richard Petty's car, and the seat in it's about as wide as half of my back. I'm a little bit concerned. I wish that if somebody's going to fall out that's a little bit smaller, they'd hurry up before Richard needs help. He's getting a little bit hot. But with my luck, I'll get to run about half of the race for it.
Well, it's kind of unfortunate that Buddy Baker's such a big guy, because Richard Petty's a lot smaller around the waist than Buddy.
Well, you know, when we first heard that Buddy might step into that car, our immediate thought was the size of the two drivers, and they're about the same height, but Buddy is quite a bit wider, shall we say, than Richard Petty.
Yeah, Bobby is, but for a big guy, he's been called the gentle giant. There is no question about the physical conditioning. It's not an overweight situation. He is just a very large man. He's been driving race cars for a long time, and he's kept himself in very good shape for his size, particularly because it's a little easy to get a little bit overweight. Buddy has never had that problem, so it's not a matter of excess weight. It's just that Buddy is built bigger than Richard Petty.
And Sanger, one of the rookies in this race in car number 00, is not being shown in the top 20. There he is, running slow on the racetrack. Now, we gave you just a few minutes ago the top 10. We can go through 19 for those of you who are keeping your watch on a particular driver. Kyle Petty is 11th, Tim Richmond 12th, 13th is Dave Marcus, 14th is Harry Gant. Those cars are 2 laps down. 4 laps down in 15th position is Ken Schrader. Then we have Phil Parsons, followed by Rusty Wallace, then Clark Dwyer, Ron Bouchard, and the number 67 of Buddy Arrington. Those 2 cars are 5 laps down.
Now you see Dale Earnhardt, Darrell Waltrip, and Lake Speed. Lake looks like he's running just as fast, if not a little faster, than the other guys. Now, he has been lapped. Lake has lost at least 1 lap. Yeah, he's in 9th position, 1 lap down. But again, that situation with the tires here at North Wilkesboro. There's Darrell Waltrip. Whatever his problems were a little earlier, he certainly has cured them as he goes to the high side of Dale Earnhardt, and he moves up a position. They are battling for 6th position on the racetrack. This kind of racetrack, Bob and Jack, it's really conducive, I think, to the driving styles of a Dale Earnhardt or a Richard Petty, maybe even a Jeff Bodine. And some of the guys in the crews were telling me this week that, you know, those are 3 drivers who just bear wrestle with you every lap out there. And when you're in a bull ring like this, close confinements, it probably works to their advantage just a little bit. Maybe there's a little bit of an intimidation factor, but of course the other drivers, the professionals as they are, as you saw with Kyle Petty, they normally respond pretty well. But in the case of Earnhardt, Richmond, and Bodine, I don't know, they're really strong on a track like this when it comes to rubbing door handles.
Look at how high Richard Petty is driving on the racetrack, using that upper groove in the corners. See how much higher he is than just about everybody else. Well, here is a breakdown of the career wins at the North Wilkesboro Speedway. Richard Petty has 15 wins here. Darrell Waltrip with 8. Cale Yarborough with 5. And Bobby Allison with 4. As far as car owners are concerned, Petty Engineering has 15. Junior Johnson, if he can bring home either Bonnet or Waltrip to victory lane this afternoon, would tie Petty Engineering for the most wins. Hallman Moody have 3, and then there are 4 owners tied with 2 wins apiece.
You know, Bob, that statistic, actually both of them, they truly do astound me, because this racetrack has been around a long time. It started out as a dirt racetrack, then they paved the racetrack in the 50s, and you would think that the longevity of this racetrack plus the change in surface would have been conducive to a lot of different teams winning. But the good old boys of NASCAR, the people who started really the sport back in the 1950s, are the people who have dominated here at North Wilkesboro.